Directly above the Hollywood sign, it's ChrenBen's Friend Trends with Aaron Crennan and Ben Lepley, the working model of a healthy friendship.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us for ChrenBen's Friend Trends. My name's Aaron Crennan, and I'm alongside my best friend, Ben Lepley. How you doing, Ben?
I'm great, Aaron. Thanks so much for having me back for another episode of ChrenBen's Friend Trends.
So glad that you could find the time.
Yeah, I'm a busy man, Aaron.
Well, we're alongside our friend, Ian Gary. How you doing, Ian?
I'm doing good. How are you guys?
Oh, he's
real
bringing
downers.
the energy down. Boo.
I get it. I get it.
I didn't know this was a zoo crew.
Welcome to the Monday bus.
6:55 of the AM.
I heard that song on the radio the other day. It is the worst.
Not if you're that old guy.
Do you remember the arguments that, if I'm sure your friend group had it, where it was like, that's an actor playing an older guy, and then it's like, that's an old guy. Like, it was like this, like, absolutely not.
No,
a man.
universally, everyone knew that it was a young guy in makeup.
Right.
None of my friends.
Oh
were
no! I had a lot of people were like, that's like a real 75-year-old guy who they found
Real
who's
limber.
real limber
and terrifying looking.
I remember
We
those
saw him
conversations.
going down the street.
Oh my god, that was talked about at our school. It was like, yep, that's a real old guy. It's like, it's physically not possible.
I was like, they were so they couldn't believe that makeup could be that good in like the 90s. Like, nah, maybe in 2010, but
They were projecting
no way.
when the makeup would be that good.
That was their thing.
God.
No, so
Well, welcome to the podcast, Ian.
Thanks.
yeah, glad you could join us.
You know, I have some funny instrument stories. Boop, boop. I had a trumpet teacher who had 4 cats and a pug. And whenever we'd go over to, I did private lessons with her half hour at a time. And every time I'd go over there, the cats were jumping on each other in the background, like, and just fur everywhere. And then there was just this pug always just masturbating itself while I was trying to play, like, burr, 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 burr. And then she got artificially inseminated twice and had 3 babies, 1 set of twins. So there were 3 crying babies.
There must be something about that because I've never had any like private instruction thing for any music except for the bagpipe because my parents are super Scottish. They're like, that's a thing you should do. And I was like, yeah, sure. And they were always great because they never forced me to do anything. But they were just like, check this out. And apparently for bagpiping, because there's so much breath you have to have built up and it's like a whole thing, they're like, you can't touch a bagpipe for like 2 years. You have to work on a thing called a chanter, which is basically like a glorified recorder.
What?
So, but to your note, I just remember going there a couple of times and I'm like, this feels like a weird old lady's house. She wasn't old, but it just like, it had that vibe. And she had a kid. And I just remember one time we're in the middle of like practicing something and she's like, hold on. And she just takes her baby, puts the baby like on the like kitchen or like table or whatever, and just like changes his diaper like right in front of me. He's like wiping his shitty asshole. And I just remember being like, this doesn't feel appropriate for
not at all.
Like, no, I don't want to do this anymore.
Then you give her a check like right after.
Yeah.
I always remember that too. It'd be like 30 minutes of like screaming babies, just cat piss smell and dog masturbating, and then it was like my mom coming in and like, and here's your check.
Yeah.
We maybe like realistically 10 minutes of playing and 20 minutes of like, calm down, stop that, oh god, the baby. Like,
I think musical lessons are how like old crazy ladies pay their bills.
stay afloat.
Like that was the 1980s version of like I don't know, government assistance because they didn't have it in the 80s.
Yep.
I would con not really a con, but we would, my piano teacher, we talk about Iowa basketball so much that literally the half hour, I would like watch the clock and be like, yeah, but what do you think they're going to do next week? And he'd like talk about it. He's like, we really should start playing the piano. I was like, I know, but there's one more question. Like literally 5 minutes of playing. And he's like, yeah, you go. I was like, all right. My mom's like paying him a lot of money. So stupid.
That's crazy.
To learn hot cross buttons.
Yeah.
The teacher I had after that first teacher was this older guy, and the lessons were an hour, so I was like despairing because the lessons were so long. And but he'd do this like Zen breathing thing with me, and I remember once it was an hour, but it felt like 2 minutes, and I like opened my eyes and it was over, and I was like, these are the best lessons, because like you like zoned out. It was really fun. It was all about just like breathing, and it was so expensive. I saw the check once, and I was like, oh my.
Isn't it amazing that we still need to learn how to breathe as adult humans?
Ian, I never thought of it like that.
It's actually a great dashboard confessional song. Those were fantastic. Oh,
man.
My goodness.
But
You're right, that was a dashboard confessional song.
but seriously, I think we all gotta share a story today. I love how smooth these transitions are always. But I wanted to share my story with when I visited Ben in Chicago. This is an old friend trend.
I didn't know that you lived in Chicago.
I did for a summer. I interned at WGN TV.
Okay.
And I lived in Evanston. Yeah.
Were you responsible for the constant broadcast of White Sox games?
I was, yes. I actually went to the White Sox Stadium, U.S. Cellular Field, and it was the Twins were playing. I like the Twins, and I was in the press box with a Twins hat on, and everybody got so mad at me.
Yeah.
Shouldn't have done that.
Dumb.
I don't know about baseball etiquette, so
I just know you guys were responsible for constant broadcasts to Maryland. There would always be like a White Sox game on from WGN.
You were getting WGN's Superstation, which was a satellite station that played a lot of syndicated sitcoms, and they would take the Chicago sports broadcasts and lay them in. So that's why everybody in the country can access those teams. It's awful.
Yeah,
it's awful. It's the worst. But anyway, real quick, I was in Evanston. I was at Northwestern campus or nearby, and got a garden apartment. They called it, which is actually lingo for a basement apartment. So it's just this underground.
That's the biggest lie of two.
Yeah, it really is. Yep.
A garden apartment. What does that mean? It's
undergrad.
a basement.
It's undergrad. Surrounded by stone and dirt.
Does that mean like they planted you down there?
Yes.
Is that what
yeah, you were the seed. So I thought for sure that I'd have a fun summer because I was by Northwestern and it was summertime. Thought, I'd meet a bunch of college students, have a great time, but it was summer, so nobody was there. So actually, it was this really weird, like, loner summer. Like, I was friends with my roommate, but he wasn't always around, so I spent a lot of time by myself. And one weekend, Aaron, like, came up, and it was like...
I saved the day.
A friend visiting me in jail. It was crazy. Anyway.
So I went up to visit depressed Ben in Chicago, and it's really not that far of a drive. About 5.5 hours. But... when we got there, like we had not really anything planned, but like we had ideas what we wanted to do. Like we made a lot of videos and stuff, and like we recorded one. It's very dumb, but it's actually I love that video. Have you heard of Terrence McKenna?
No, I have not.
He has this theory.
Called the time wave zero. Mm-hmm. That actually it kind of didn't come true because it was supposed to happen in, as you can imagine, 2012, when all novelty reached like a omega point.
Yeah,
all novelty.
Yeah, like all creativity, all like every possible creative thought that could happen would happen by 2012.
I just don't even think like that. That feels different to me. Like creative thought and novelty.
You think like novelty store, like
like he's like Spencer's will go on fire. That's what I picture. Very apocalyptic end to like the Slinky.
So we had this. I think it must have been Saturday. I'm guessing. It really doesn't matter.
Probably Saturday.
Probably. Was that the 17th? I think.
Yeah, I think it was the 17th.
But we started out the day with like going to this diner, and which at the time was a great idea. But it kind of like we got seating immediately. Great meal, bacon. The typical. And
at a Monte Carlo, if I remember correctly.
I think you did.
Unbelievable memories.
That's the first time I ever had a Monte Carlo, and it was I can't remember the name of the restaurant, but it was like a Denny's.
It was like a Denny's, but not corporate. It was like a greasy diner.
Yeah, it's like not corporate.
It's like what Denny's strives to be.
Yeah.
I want someone listening to this podcast to be like, and I'm done. It was the 17th Saturday. Oh, Ben at a Monte Carlo, and
So that's how our day began, but that's how my day began, really. And then it was very hot because it was summer in Chicago, can get very hot.
Sure.
And we took the subway, or the L, to downtown, like Michigan Avenue area, because we heard there was an indoor mall. Mm-hmm. And
We wanted AC.
So we actually took in the L, we took the one car that had no air conditioning. And so the trip there from Evanston to like downtown Chicago was surprisingly far. And we sweated a lot, to say the least. But it was a nightmare. And we got out, and there was we did everything we could to like get into air conditioning. Like we kept going into the Nike store because they were like the coldest place on earth. Like it's like set at like 62 degrees. Like it was amazing. But like we kept going in and not buying anything. But we were sweating so much, like it looked
weird.
like we
What,
just
the rest of the mall was.
Oh no! So we're not at the mall yet. This is like like on Michigan Avenue Nike store.
Yeah, on the way to the cool mall, there was a cool Nike store. It was like an oasis in the desert. We could
Isn't
stop.
this prohibiting? If you keep going back, isn't this prohibiting you from ultimately getting to the place?
It was too hot.
It was just too hot, Ian. You need the key point of the story is it was hot. And we couldn't find the mall. That was the other thing, because we kept calling it the indoor mall, and we're sure it had like the Old Town Chicago Mall, but we didn't know its official name. So when we told people the indoor mall, now I'm saying that, and it does sound crazy.
Yeah, it sounds insane. Where's the indoor mall?
But it's like a mall like in a skyscraper or something like that. It's a very unassuming mall where like you go into a building. Actually, it's similar to like San Francisco has a mall kind of like this where it looks just like a building front, and you're like, oh, there's a mall in there. But it was a little more hidden than that. And so I kept walking back and forth, and eventually we got hungry again, and we went to Bennigan's. And I remember thinking to myself, I kind of have to use the restroom.
Sure.
And
you go to a diner and then to
diner,
Bennigan's.
then Bennigan's? Oh, yeah. So I remember, I don't know why I would ever think this, but I was like, oh, this pee here. And I was like, that's a good idea. This won't come back to affect me at all. But what ended up happening was, like, in all of our travels, like back and forth from one Nike store to the next, I'm sure, we continued to get like sweatier and sweatier and very gross. And I thought to myself that I need to buy a new shirt because I can't wear this one any longer. Like it was too wet of sweat. It was like that gross. So we finally, like after hours, come across this like hidden mall in the downtown Chicago skyscrapers. And it was very, like, we entered, we thought it was an apartment complex, and someone was like, it's in there. And we're like, oh, okay. And it was. And this was a 4-story mall. And our avid listeners know that Ben and I love malls. So, I got a shirt. Like, I actually still had it until, like, last year. Side fact.
Sidebar.
That's like last
You
year.
guys, if you listen to the end of the podcast, they will be giving away that shirt signed.
But what ended up happening was, like, when we were at that store, like, I put that shirt on, and I was like, oh, I need to shit. Like, I really need to go. And
Snuck up on you.
all that knockoff Denny's.
Yeah. That's why you have to go to authentic Denny's. Otherwise, this happens. And so we were on the first floor, but, like, it didn't really, like, affect me too much. We go through the second floor, like, check out stores, whatever. Second floor.
Yeah.
Third floor. I was like, oh, I need to go shit right now. And I could see the bathroom. It was across the way a little bit. And Ben gets a phone call from his then girlfriend. And I was like, oh, whoa, this is a perfect opportunity. I'm just going to go to the bathroom. And I was like, I'm going to go to the bathroom. And I hurried up to get to it. And I'm like walking pretty quickly. And like, I think there's definitely something that goes through your mind when you see like the finish line and you're like, well, I'm about to do what I need to do.
There's got to be some kind of chart, like some kind of algorithm, because yes, the closer you get to a toilet, it is a real struggle. Like,
I actually think there was a study done on it where, like, when your brain sees that it's there, it there's something that's released, like, in your bowels where it's like, we're good, we're not in like panic mode anymore, where there's nothing around us.
go ahead to shit yourself.
Yeah.
I always think about it when I'm like on the 101 and I have to shit. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, oh, it's just 5 minutes. But it's like not until I like am like really in the vicinity do I like relieve myself mentally, not in my pants. But So I go to the 3rd floor bathroom, and I see there's a sign on it that said, like, closed for cleaning, use floors 4 or 2. And I was like,
Boy.
oh, fuck. And at this point, I was so close that I think I had let all ambitions, like, it was like, I'm good. And I remember now running past Ben and being like, him still being on the phone and being like, gotta go to the 4th floor. And I run, and the 4th floor was like the food court. So like and all the chairs are like, of course, not tucked in like they should be. And so I'm like weaving through, but like at this point, like I had already like undone my belt from the 3rd floor. So I'm like shuffling through and like kind of sprinting towards the bathroom and like not making so much of a scene, but I know there's a few people probably on a different podcast right now telling the story about this weird kid with his pants down. But I was like unbuttoning, like it had gone too far for me to come back and then have to go to this 4th floor.
He'd gone too far.
And so I bust through the bathroom door, and it's like it's like multiple stalls, multiple urinals. It's not like an individual. As you can imagine, a mall, I don't think would ever have an individual. Right. But like it was one of those moments where I was no longer holding shit in. I was like preventing it from coming out. Like I was like squeezing my butt together, like like it was like I couldn't like physically inside my body. I couldn't hold it in. It was solely on the outside, like skin on skin, damming it up.
It was a nice paste.
And it being a mall, even though it was this upscale Chicago mall, you still have to like examine the toilet situation. Mm-hmm. And what I had done was it was like kind of gross, and so I was like putting down like the thing, like the sheet, or like
daintily laying down toilet paper. That's the worst.
Yeah, it was awful. And I was facing the toilet at the time, if you can like visualize this.
Sure.
And I had put down everything, so I was good to go. And in like one fluid motion, I started to take my pants down as I would spin to sit down. Yeah. In that motion, I shit. Across the door, the wall, and then all over the toilet.
Violent?
It was awful. It was so awful. And it didn't stop there. Like it kept going. And then I was like in this tiny room with like looking across from like a wall of shit, looking to my left like a wall of shit. And then like knowing that I'm probably sitting in shit that I had splattered. It was just so gross because it smelled so vile, and like I'm thinking I'm in like this new shirt, and I was like, damn it, that's ruined the shirt. And so I was in there.
Which you still have,
yeah,
which will be given away at the end of the podcast.
So I was like continued just shitting. It's like the moral of the story. I was shitting like for so long, and
but wait, Aaron, what happened next? I continued shitting.
So and then at some point, someone walked in, and I looked down at their feet, and I noticed I was on the far stall next to the urinals, and I noticed they were stepping in poo speckles. And I was like, oh, I hope they don't put 2 and 2 together. That I'm like still in here, and like that is my shit they're standing in.
Hope they don't put 2 and 2 together. Like someone just murdered someone in a closet, and blood is leaking out into the public. Oh, I hope they don't notice. This liquid pouring out from under the door.
So either they didn't care or they somehow did. I really don't know how you wouldn't notice what was happening in there. But like, and then I was, of course, in that moment, like I was still shitting, but like I had to stop for like the politeness of this guy because it sounded just so vile. And
well, at that point, you're shitting in a shit-covered box.
Yeah, I mean, why not, right?
Let it go.
So
let it rip.
So I finish up after the guy left, and I like assess the damage, and I was like, this is just a mess. And I realized that I had probably been gone for a while at that point, and I was like, oh shit, Ben's gonna probably start wondering where I am, because I literally had been gone for like 15 minutes. And I then like exit the stall, and like I closed the door, didn't want to see that ever again. But I like looked in the mirror to make sure I didn't have like speckled shits on. Yeah, exactly. And luckily I didn't. It was just so fortunate. But like as I was checking that,
I don't know how you didn't poop on your pants.
Yeah, I do not know. I honestly don't know.
That's kind of a miracle.
Sometimes God gives little winks.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the moral.
Yeah. But as I was doing that, Ben walked in, and it was like hey, where have you been? And I was like, oh, and I spun around real quick. I was like, just washing my hands. And I washed my hands really quick, and then I was like this praying that he wasn't like, I gotta go shit too or anything. But he like leaves alongside me. As we're leaving though, the reason why the third floor bathroom was closed was for cleaning, and the woman who was set to clean the fourth floor bathroom had just arrived when we were
way
leaving.
up.
So we skedaddled pretty quickly, but Ben still had no idea. This like all culminates in a very like fun. I was so embarrassed to tell him. I didn't tell him for like 6 or 7 months, and we were driving in our college town of Cedar Falls, and I told him the story, and as I told him, like, I think it was like the poo speckle part, he like started to laugh pretty hard while driving, and he let go of the wheel as we were turning left onto College Avenue.
Shit himself.
And we literally started going the opposite direction. Down a road, like for like a moment before I took the wheel and I had to turn us out of the way.
What's wrong with you?
I love fun, Ian.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's not an acceptable response to a story.
I love fun.
Yeah, but yeah, that was my whole shit tale. And like, there's been other times, but like, really, that's the
Well,
Yeah,
thank you for solving
pinnacle.
a riddle for me, because there's been many times where I've walked in and gone like, God damn it, like why is this happen? Like why? You know, because there's just like shit on a thing. Like,
Right.
wow.
Now
So
you
I
know. Yeah.
It's that knockoff Denny's.
Projectile.
Now I know what it is. They all, regardless of where they are in the country, they all at some point went to that one Denny's. Not Denny's.
Hop on a flight to Baltimore. Oh man, I gotta go.
Also, going off of what you were saying, I was wondering this because I was at the Getty the other day. Don't mean to brag. And there was a guy that was in the bathroom, and he was doing that thing that you were saying, which is like, spurts so that no one knows. And I've done that, and I know everybody does, and I don't understand why anyone does it. Like,
we're trained to be ashamed,
of poop. Of just that.
Yeah.
But the thing is, like, cat's already out of the bag. Like, you're already shitting, especially
You're in a toilet,
especially if it's one of those really violent ones. Like, there's already a telltale. There's already the heart and the floorboards. Like, you're already shitting and it smells terrible, right? But this guy had it at a new like it was impressive because he would like just hold it, and you know that he's shitting because his pants are down. There's shitting happening. But then he would just like time it perfectly with every like he had the most incredible anal rhythm. It would just be like, and you're like, how did you get out that little burst so fast? And then somebody would like, flush one of the urinals. He would just he had it down to a science where like I was like, I know you did it, but it was in perfect sync with every louder moment. It was impressive.
I've definitely tried that, but I don't have the abilities that this gentleman did. And yeah, it's like
There's a delay. You got a bad delay.
Time delay, like it's a CNN correspondent.
I have to anticipate it. Like, I bet the door's going to open in 2 seconds.
Watching shadows on the floor to see when they'll get to the door. And 3, 2, release, and
Well, guys,
Ian, have you ever had a fun moment in
keeping
the
up this
bathroom?
fecal theme. When I was in 5th grade, all right, and I went to this elementary school, and the way they would set it up, if you can imagine with your brain, is 5th grade was all in one giant room, okay, and then they would split it into 4.
What?
And that was like,
Like one of those shitty baseball diamonds where they all share like a center field?
I guess, kind of, where it would be like, you basically, like, after a class was done, you would move from one portion to another, right?
Was
So
it
you,
split with like partitions?
Yeah.
Or,
Yeah, little office partition
Okay.
type style.
Okay.
But it would be like, okay, you learn social studies and English with this teacher, and then you go over here and you learn math and whatever, right? So they were like specialized for a couple of classes or something like that. Anyway, so that'd be one big like 5th grade room split into 4, and then there would be kind of like a hallway with 2 bathrooms, and then there would be the same thing for 4th grade, right? So it would be like kind of like a weird barbell, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right, in the shared bathroom in the middle. Anyway, so we're taking a test in my like social studies class or whatever it is. We're on 5th graders like writing their stuff, and it's very quiet because everyone's taking a test. And the way that it would work, probably like for any school, there's the bathroom pass, right? So like one person goes and then they use that, but only one person. You have to have that pass. That's your permission, right? So then like a couple kids go over the course of this test, and then Robbie goes and he takes the pass and he goes into the bathroom, which is like right next to us. We're like the way we're set up, we're the closest to the bathroom. And so he's there for like a bit, right? And everyone's just kind of writing and doing their tests. And then that amount of time, like unspoken amount of time of like, they should be back from the bathroom. So everyone started like making eye contact, you know what I mean? And not saying anything, but everyone's kind of giggling like, oh man, he's like have a real rough time. So after like 10 minutes or so, he very discreetly, like nonchalantly comes back from the bathroom with his pass and just like sets it on the teacher's desk and goes and sits down and starts like writing back to, so you just go, oh, okay. He's taking his time, I guess. And then a couple minutes later, another guy takes the bathroom pass and he walks into the bathroom and you're like, oh my god. And so of course like it floods, like the teacher can't stop it, like all the kids run into there in the boys' bathroom was shit smeared everywhere. So it wasn't like an accidental spray a la your situation. This was a very deliberate turd-based crime.
Aaron Crennan had swung by after his
this was the work of a master.
Like a hand.
It was, yeah. So it is smeared everywhere in super gross places, like on the faucets, like on the handles.
Oh man,
on the handles of everything. But then also because you're just like, you're like fucking 10. So you're like, what? I remember climbing up on one of the toilets because the partitions, he covered that place and shit was just like, where can I get some shit? Like right on the top of this partition, there was an art scene. There were waves and a sun smeared in there. Now, obviously, he's the one that was there, and the teacher's like very upset.
Is it possible that he walked into that and took it for what it was and was like, "This is beautiful,"
and then came
and
back?
Then
this is where the case gets interesting. Because and I remember his face being very scared as the teacher's yelling at him. And he's like, it wasn't me. I didn't do it. It wasn't me. Which is probable.
Oh.
Except for the fact that the name Rob was smeared in giant shit letters. Rob, right? So unless this is like some kind of OJ framing situation, chances are he just wrote his name in shit on a wall. The best part of all this was like, you got to understand, this was the early 90s, right?
Different time.
It was a different time. So there just weren't the sensitivities at the time. It was kind of agreed upon because they called the janitor, right? And the janitor's like, sorry, dude, you got to clean up like a bathroom covered in shit. And he like comes in there with his mop and he walks in and you hear him. Because they corral us all in, like, enough's enough, nothing to see here, just a bathroom covered in feces and a boy's name. So we sit down, and he walks in with his sad little mop, and you just hear, motherfucker! Like, he was just so jarred at the sight of what happened. And they had us all sit down, but Robbie was, like, standing in the middle, like, off in a corner with all the teachers. All the teachers are just leaning down and yelling at him like, you fucking weirdo. And he's just very sad. And then the best part is like I said, that there wasn't any like regulation as far as this was concerned. The janitor came in and you can hear everything. They're not that far away, and they're just like, he has to clean all this up and blah blah blah. And the janitor is just looking at him very mad, and Robbie's all weirded out as he should be. And the janitor's like, you little fucking asshole. Like, and none of the teachers were like, hey, come on, that's a kid.
Cool it, man.
They were all like, yep, you get what you deserve, you little turd smearing weirdo. Everybody just stood there while the janitor's like, fuck you. They're like, yeah, no, that guy has to clean a whole bathroom of shit, so it's fine.
That's amazing. Oh my god.
And that was and then later that kid became a vampire. Not a joke.
What?
Like he doesn't have supernatural powers.
Right,
now.
but he would, like, did he drink his own? I've heard that's a thing. People drink their own blood in high school and pretend they're vampires.
He was going around saying he was a vampire.
Oh, he's saying.
Yeah.
Okay, so he might have gone.
But it was his thing, you know. Which is weird because you would think the kid who smeared his poop all over the walls would be a little more balanced, but That's not what happened.
Well, you know what? Being yelled at by that old man really put him on the
That's what it
vampire
was.
track.
He was actually, he was on the road to recovery until
Mm-hmm.
that little kid was like, "You fucking, fuck you."
I love how flustered he was too.
Well,
I mean,
understandably.
yeah.
What if he used his own shit to write Rob, but ran out, and he was right? Rob didn't do this, and he just wanted people to know.
He was-
but he's like, "Fuck, I ran
He
out."
was like, "I have a foolproof plan. I'm gonna paint a sunset and then put Rob didn't do." Oh no!
Out. I shouldn't have put it on top of the partitions. Should have used that for didn't do it.
Trying to save it, trying to recollect it.
Well, it's, I mean,
Rob.
if he had an attorney helping him, there really wasn't another bathroom he could have gone to either.
Nope.
So his
Nope.
plea was negligible. That's amazing. I will round this out with an embarrassing story. When I first moved to Los Angeles, the first month I lived here, I shat myself in my pants twice.
Shat myself in my pants, not in his shirt.
Not in, nor in a toilet. I guess you could shit yourself in a toilet, which is fine. No one ever talks about it. No, like we talk about Des Moines a lot on this show in very glowing terms. And one of the wonderful things about Des Moines, Iowa is that in all of the stores, like Targets and everything, you've got just big public bathrooms. So if you're ever out driving around having a day on the town and you need to shit, you can just pull it, and there's ample parking because it's the Midwest. So there's 90 more parking spots than are ever needed in every store.
It's
So
just common courtesy.
yeah, that's the Iowan way.
big
Or
spots
common
too.
courtesy.
Oh,
Nice.
Ian. So I, if ever I, would get the Krenin post fake Denny's shit vibe, I could just pull into a store, go over to Lowe's, pop on in, use the bathroom, pop on out, no big deal. And I just assumed that it was that way in Los Angeles as well. But as you know, there's really no parking. It's very difficult to park.
Better find a Starbucks, motherfucker.
That's right. And I learned that early on. So I had eaten at a Baja Fresh for the first time. And I was interning. I didn't have a day job yet, so I had a lot of time to just sort of go around town and do whatever I wanted. And I was thinking about that Baja. It was the one by the now SAG After building.
One Union.
Mm-hmm. Really enjoying myself, really enjoying my day, and it hits. And I go, oh, no problem. I'll just pull over and find a store. And as I'm driving around, I start to get that cold sweat, that you get before before it's really about to rip, and you can feel it like coiling through your intestines, and it just feels like somebody's dragging a knife through your lower GI.
I like how you get like that thought too of, I don't want this to be happening.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, this is so bad. Like,
Yeah.
I don't want
to be here right now. I don't want to be in my body right now. Put me in another body. So I'm driving around looking for a store, and I start to realize, because I'm in Hollywood proper, there's no street parking. Every meter is taken up. Every sign says you can't park here, and every store, all the strip malls and everything, there's a car in every spot. It's also the middle of summer, so there's tourists everywhere, and it's just a nightmare. So eventually, after driving around for quite a bit and going into a few stores they were like, no, we don't have a bathroom. I was like,
7-Eleven. I can't fucking believe
don't
that.
have a bathroom. What's wrong with you people? Buy a Mountain Dew, whatever you need. Like, eventually, I was like, it's got to be Starbucks. I know I've seen bathrooms in every Starbucks I've been to since I've moved to Los Angeles. And at this point, we're really at like the Omega stage, where it's like really like cold sweat, like that you can feel your pulse, like really just like rattling.
Your body
your head.
is very intimately associated with your shits. I've had clenched moments.
No. This is it was an all out like, you're doomed, man. And that's coming from your own like biorhythms. You're doomed. So I found a Starbucks, and there was nowhere to park. So I legally parked, like double parked across the street. I ran across the street, got into the Starbucks, and as I'm making my way in, jogging towards the bathroom door, I just feel this shit torpedo of like Baja Fresh chicken and spices. Just is horrible. Just like right in the Starbucks, and it's like it's done before I can even make it to the door. So I kind of hang my head, turn around, get out quickly before anyone realizes what happens. I was still pretty close to the entrance, so it was just like a crazy man running in and walking out sadly. I get in my car. I have a towel, like a beach towel in the back seat. So I put that down over the driver's seat. I sit in it. Charlie Brown music plays, and I drive home. I'm like, you know what? This is so embarrassing. But you are new to town. You're trying your best. You know, this is just
talking himself up.
It's going to be
what? You gave it your best shot.
You know now that there's really, like, bathrooms are hard to find. This isn't Des Moines. Let's just, dust ourselves off and try again. So later that month, I'm in Burbank. I should mention I have a fear of freeways. It was not a giant mess at this point in my life. I really was just terrified of freeways, so I would never take them. I would always take side streets, really, until I got through this internship, and I was like, all right, this is fucking insane. You've got to start taking freeways, or everything's going to take 3 hours. So I'm in Burbank for a class on a weekend. I eat at a Panda Express in the Burbank Mall. Yeah,
well, a lot of bad choices.
Yeah, it's all my fault. I don't blame these establishments at all. I knew this was going to happen, and I still chose to eat there. But for some reason that day, it's like, maybe today it won't. So I get in my car and I take really just streets back to Palms, which, down by Santa Monica. So I'm going to take Highland or Barham all the way to Highland, all the way down to Pico, and just sort of stair step my way back to my the house I was renting. And about at the 101, like right where you're by the Hollywood Bowl, I started to feel that clench and that cold sweat and all the things that I had felt before, and I was like, oh no. I had told myself that I wasn't going to let this happen again, and I was going to take care of everything. And I was like, no, you know what? Don't worry about it. You've been at the mall at Hollywood and Highland. It's like only $2 to park there, really. It's on the way. Just hook a right into the mall at Hollywood and Highland. And we'll just use a mall bathroom, and then we'll be fine.
That's what we'll do.
Yeah, that's it. That's how it's gonna be. So, going down Highland, and of course it's summertime on Highland, so it's completely backed up.
Yeah.
And I'm like, remain calm. Remain calm. Everything's going to be fine.
Only 28 minutes to get that block and a half.
And you can see it, too. You can see those giant, like, Byzantine elephant statues that are on the top of that mall, like, beckoning you, like, bathrooms in here. 20 minutes go by in the heat, too, of the summer sun and everything. I'm just baking. I'm cold sweating. I'm grabbing my stomach. Pull in finally, and at this point we're at the Omega Point again as I'm pulling into the parking structure. So I get in, and because it's summer, every tourist is at this mall and everybody's parked at this cheap parking lot. So I go down one level, and it takes a while to wind down.
Yeah.
Like 3 minutes.
That was my thought, even when
I first said,
I was like, well, it's still going to be a real.
It's going to be a long,
lot of levels, a lot of distance to cross,
long haul.
A lot of people waiting for other people to park.
Yeah, people backing out, people waiting for those spots. So go down one level, go down the second level, go down the next level. Each roundabout is like it's like a layer deeper into hell, and just hotter and worse, and like I can just feel it just bubbling inside of me. And I finally get down to the bottom level of the parking structure underneath Hollywood and Highland, like the very bottom floor, and I get one of the last spots. Then I have to go up the escalator. So I run in, and the escalator is full of people. So it's at that point where you're doing that little dance, and like you can't walk around people because the escalator isn't wide enough, and you're moving up, but you're moving up slowly, and you can't be like, oh, excuse me, I've got to so you've got to take all of the escalators up every level of this parking structure. Finally, I get to the top, can't find a bathroom anywhere. Running around trying to find anyone I can ask, find a mall person. I'm like, where's the bathroom? They're like, oh, it's up on the top floor by the food court. So then I
top of that elephant.
Yeah, right. So then I've got to look for the giant elephant. So I've got to go up more stairs. At this point, like I'm really like, this is not to over exaggerate. This is the closest I've ever or the longest I've held it, and the closest I've been. It is like Aaron said, when it's like skin on skin. It's just it's just there. Get up to the top floor, finally see the bathroom, and there's a line of people out of the bathroom into the mall. So I have no choice. I have to get in line. And as I'm standing there
really should be like
a red alert, like, I need you to bump me forward. This is an emergency. And I mean, I could never, at that point in my life especially, I could never have been like, oh, that's not polite. Like, you've got to wait your turn. So at this point, my rectum just gives out. Like, I just feel like the muscles just go. Bruh. So at this point, I'm actually physically holding my butt cheeks together with my hands, and that's the only thing.
Also, like, fuck everybody else that you like. This is like we were talking about before. Like, you have no presence or understanding of what's happening around you. To me, if I looked to my right and there was a man clenching his fucking asshole with his hands, I'd be like, oh, dude, it's fine. Go ahead of me.
Yeah.
And then go look at the... Hey, this guy is going to shit his pants. Let him go ahead. No one's doing that. Everyone's like, fuck that. I got to go to Annie Ann's. Right.
Colorado Chocolate Shop has a date with me. So I finally get into the bathroom, and I'm the next person to go into the stall. I've literally no one in between me and the stall at this point. And I just go, oh no. And I can't do it. The shit force is too strong. And even my hands holding my butt cheeks together, it just gives out. And it's just... And I just shit myself in front of everyone in line in this bathroom. And everyone just looks at me. And I just sort of put my head down, walk back to my car.
Charlie Brown music plays.
I've since washed the towel, but it's back in my trunk. The towel goes back over the driver's seat. Get back in, drive back to Burbank.
You have like a designated shit towel. I just picture you as like a little cartoon, head down, and then that dun, dun, dun,
Christmas time is here.
Very sad.
It was awful, and like the shame, and just like,
well, yeah.
And I remember legitimately having like a conversation with myself on the drive back to Palms after the second time it happened, where I was like, are you really cut out for this town? Can you make it out here? Can you make it in Los Angeles?
There's one clear line of everyone who's ever succeeded in Hollywood. No one shits their pants.
Exactly. And twice in the first 30 days.
I have a very quick anecdote.
Yes,
which
please.
This is my Kevin Bacon shit story. Don't get excited. It's not about Kevin Bacon shitting. But it's like 3 people removed. My mom tells this story. She used to work at Macy's. And she's in the mall, and she's like sitting down using the bathroom, and she's already in the stall, and you just hear like someone has fucking Rambo kicked the door in, and they immediately run to the next stall, and it's like everything is wham, bam, like they're in a Ben place. They kick open the door, and that's what made me think of it. The exact same words. She kicks open the door, and you hear, oh no. This woman just goes, oh no. And my mom's like terrified, looking at the next stall. And I guess this is extra bad, and this is where I feel really awful for any lady do ladies still wear pantyhose on her? I don't know. My mom said that she just hears this like wet thwack.
Oh, yeah.
This woman had been wearing like full-on pantyhose, and just, it's compressed shit. Like, it's just all forced in between layers of whatever that is, silken linens, and just a wet thwack of those discarded pair of pantyhose. And that woman was just like, and it's somebody else's problem now. Fucking got up and just left. And my mom's like too scared to leave the stall because this woman was like, this is a bag of my shit. Somebody else deal with it. I'm done for the day. I cash out.
When I worked at Goodwill, this is a really quick one. Someone was like, where's your bathroom? And it's like, for whatever reason, Goodwill in Des Moines is like the only place that didn't have its own bathroom for the public. I really couldn't believe it. But I was like, oh, sorry, we don't have a bathroom. And then the guy grabbed his shirt and he goes, where can I try this on? I was like, oh, right over there.
Oh, no.
5 minutes later, I walked in and there was just shit on that shirt.
And then Rob written on the wall. That was Rob. He ended up in Des Moines.
I just love that he was like, oh, where can I try this on then?
I don't have to go anymore. I have to try on a shirt.
He didn't have to hatch a plan. It was like an instant moment. Oh, that's amazing.
Well, then.
Oh, wait. Sorry. I do have one more thing. And Ben finally, I don't know if you remember telling me this, because I feel like this might be something that you've forgotten about since it didn't really matter at all. Mm-hmm. But there was a point when Ben, like, I feel like learned his lesson about, like, he finally conquering this town, because he was at the Burbank Town Center, and, like, he was leaving to go to his car, and I think you still lived in Palms, or you lived some distance away, and you were like, I got to shit. I guess I'll wait till I'm home. And you go, you know what? I'm gonna go back to the mall. And he walked into the mall and shit, and everything was fine. As he was leaving, though, the way you described this to me over the phone was the best. He's like, I shit you not, an impromptu parade started and blocked me.
I forgot about that. Oh yeah.
And he's like, I would have been trapped in my car for like a half hour.
I don't remember that because I didn't get trapped.
Exactly.
Yeah, but yeah, thank you for remembering that. That all came flooding back. Wow.
But the thing is, I never believed an impromptu parade could happen in LA.
Until you lived in Burbank.
Until I lived in Burbank, went to the mall around Christmas, and honest to God, all of a sudden, like, we looked down the road and there was a fucking like elephant coming down the road. Like, it was just happening.
Burbank, home of the impromptu parade. It's just bananas. Well, Ian, thank you so much for coming and opening up.
Ian.
It's cool to let you let your walls down.
Thank you. And what's really, and this is not a joke, I have to shit so bad.
I do too. I do too. I really badly.
3 shots of espresso, and I'm ready. Like, I'm ready to go.
Do you have to, Aaron?
I mean, I could go.
You could.
Yeah. Okay.
That's the difference.
Well, there's 2 bathrooms in here, so we'll form a line.
I'll just put a shirt on the ground and shit on that.
There you go.
Just take the microphones in. Wrap it up.
Ian, you have a Twitter that's very funny called Ian Gary Tweets, and then you can also follow this podcast Twitter. I'm just leaning forward uncomfortably as I'm saying all this. At ChrenBen's, ChrenBen's. You can also follow Aaron Crennen's very funny Twitter account at Crennen, Chrennen, or me at White Bathrobe, which is spelled like how it sounds. So thank you, Ian. Thank you, Aaron.
Thank you, Ben.
And thanks to all the friends out there. I'm glad you're getting in on these trends.
What's wrong with us?
I don't know. I'm doing this.